Chapter 8 of Jewish Children by Sholem Aleichem. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Jewish Children, Yudishe Kinder by Sholem Aleichem, translated by Hannah Berman, and read by Adrian Pretzelis. Chapter 8. Greens for Shevuous. On the eve of Shevuous, I induced my mother, peace be unto her, to let me go off outside the town by myself to gather greens for the festival, and my mother let me go off alone to gather the greens for the festival. May she have a bright paradise for that. A real pleasure is a pleasure one enjoys by oneself, without a companion and without a single argument. I was alone, free as a bird in the big cultivated field. Above me was the whole of the blue cap called the sky. For me alone shone the beautiful queen of the day, the sun. For my sake there came together here in the big field all the singers and warblers and dancers. For my sake there was spread before me the row of tall sunflowers, and the delicate growths were scattered all over the field by a benevolent nature. No one bothered me, no one prevented me from doing what I liked. No one saw me but God, and I could do what I liked. If I liked I might sing, if I liked I might shout and scream at the top of my voice, if I liked I might make a horn with my hands and blow out a melody. If I liked, I might roll on the green grass just as I was, curling myself up like a hedgehog. Who was there to give me orders, and whom would I pay heed to? I was free, I was free. The day was so warm, the sun so beautiful, the sky so clear, the field so green, the grass so fresh, my heart so gay and my soul so joyful, that I forgot completely I was a stranger in the field and had merely come out to cut green boughs for Shevuous. I imagined I was a prince, and the whole field that my eyes rested on, and everything in the field, and even the blue sky above it, all were mine. I owned everything, and could do what I liked with it, I and no one else. And like an overlord who had complete control of everything, I longed to show my power, my strength, my authority, all that I could and would do. First of all I was displeased with the tall giants with the yellow hats, the sunflowers. Suddenly they appeared to me as my enemies, and all the other plants with and without stalks, the beans and beanstalks, were enemies too. They were the Philistines that had settled on my ground. Who had sent for them? And those thick green plants lying on the ground with huge green heads, the cabbages. What are they doing here? They will only get drunk and bring a misfortune upon me. Let them go into the earth, I do not want them. Angry thoughts and fierce instincts woke within me. A curious feeling of vengefulness took possession of me. I began to avenge myself of my enemies, and what a vengeance it was! I had with me all the tools I would need for cutting the green boughs for the festival. Pocket knife with 2 blades, and a sword, a wooden sword but a sharp one. This sword had remained with me after Lag BaOmer, and although I had carried it with me when I had gone with my comrades to do battle outside the town, yet I could swear to you, though you may believe me without an oath, that the sword had not spilled one drop of blood. It was one of those weapons that are carried about in times of peace. There was not a sign of war. It was quiet and peaceful around and about. I carried the sword because I wanted to. For the sake of peace one must have in readiness swords and guns and rifles and cannon, horses and soldiers. May they never be needed for ill, as my mother used to say when she was making preserves. It is the same all the world over. In a war one aims first at the leaders, the officers. It is better still if one can hit the general. After that the soldiers fall like chaff in any event. Therefore you will not be surprised to hear that first of all I fell upon Goliath the Philistine. I gave him a good blow on the head with my sword, and a few good blows from the back, and the wicked one was stretched at my feet full length. After that I knocked over a good many more wicked ones. I pulled the stalks out of the ground and threw them to the devil. The short, fat, green enemies I attacked in a different manner. Wherever I could, I took the green heads off. The others I trampled down with my feet. I made a heap of ashes of them. During a battle, when the blood is hot and one is carried away by excitement, one cuts down everything that is at hand, right and left. When one is spilling blood, one loses oneself. One does not know where one is in the world. At such a time one does not honour old age. One does not care about weak women. One has no pity for little children. Blood is simply poured out like water. When I was cutting down the enemy, I felt a hatred and a malice I had never experienced before, immediately after I had delivered the first blow. The more I killed, the more excited I became. I urged myself to go on. I was so beside myself, so inflamed, so ecstatic, that I smashed up and destroyed everything before me. I cut about me on all sides. Most of all, the little ones suffered at my hands, the young peas in the fat little pods, the tiny cucumbers that were just showing above ground. These excited me by their silence and their coldness, and I gave them such a share that they would never forget me. I knocked off heads, tore open bellies, shattered to atoms, beat, murdered, killed. May I know of evil as little as I know how I came to be so wicked. Innocent potatoes, poor things, that lay deep in the earth, I dug out, just to show them that there was no hiding from me. Little onions and green garlic I tore up by the roots. Radishes flew about me like hail. And may the Lord punish me if I even tasted a single bite of anything. I remembered the law in the Bible forbidding it, and Jews do not plunder. Every minute when an evil spirit came and tempted me to taste a little onion or a young garlic, the words of the Bible came into my mind, and I did not cease from beating, breaking, wounding and killing and cutting to pieces, old and young, poor and rich, big and little, without the least mercy. On the contrary, I imagined I heard their wails and groans and cries for mercy, and I was not moved. It was remarkable that I, who could not bear to see a fowl slaughtered, or a cat beaten, or a dog insulted, or a horse whipped, I should be such a tyrant, such a murderer. "Vengeance!" I shouted without ceasing. "Vengeance! I will have my revenge of you for all the Jewish blood that was spilled. I will repay you for Jerusalem, for the Jews of Spain and Portugal, and for the Jews of Morocco, and also for the Jews who fell in the past, and those who are falling today, and for the scrolls of the law that were torn, and for the... Oh, help! Who has me by the ear?" 2 good thumps and 2 good smacks in the face at the one time sobered me on the instant. I saw before me a man who, I could have sworn, was Okrim the gardener. Okrim the gardener had for years cultivated fields outside the town. He rented a piece of ground, made a garden of it, and planted in it melons and pumpkins and onions and garlic and radishes and other vegetables. He made a good living in this way. How did I know Okrim? He used to deal with us. That is to say, he used to borrow money off my mother every Passover Eve, and about Sukkot time he used to pay it back by degrees. These payments used to be entered on the inside cover of my mother's prayer book. There was a separate page for Okrim and a separate account. It was headed in big writing, Okrim's account. Under these words came the entries: a ruble from Okrim, another ruble from Okrim,
2 roubles from Okrim.